player piano rolls, old player piano rolls, those rolls that go inside and make a piano play itself. Back in the day, Victorian music CDs were player piano rolls. Pop in a new roll if you want a new song. They have a unique sound to them, very clinky but enjoyable, and there are collectors still that just love these things. And they want music. They're out there wanting music. You'll find them. There's not a lot about how to sell player piano rolls on eBay, but all you need is what I know, so that's all that matters. So I'm going to tell you a few things that I've learned. There's really not much to it, except there's hungry collectors out there who want them, but they don't generally pay up for them. Player piano rolls, you might have one of only 20 in existence in the world, and they might pay you $19. They might not. It's just something how low the prices are. In my opinion, I really thought they would have some big value, but they have enough to mess with. You see 50 at a garage sale in this bucket and this box, and you say, how much for all of them? Well, I'll give you $5 for the box since no one else is buying these. Let me see what I can do with them. They're definitely worth $5, $10, $15, $20 for a box. A box of multiples. Someday it's best if they come in a box, and many of them do. The majority I'd come in a box. They don't all come in a box. These boxes are about 3 inches by 3 inches, and they're about a foot to about 14 inches long. The longer ones are mostly comprised of 65 note piano rolls, and the shorter boxes that are only, let me see how long the shorter boxes are, almost 13 inches. The longer one's probably about 16 inches. I didn't bring one over, but the 13 inches are easy to ship in a box. The longer ones, they push my box limits too much. I'm kind of getting into the weeds here, but the ones that are 13 inches are just so much easier to sell. A lot of times you have a 12-inch box, you can put them in there diagonally, and all I do to ship them is wrap the box in one layer of the small bubble wrap. It's about 3/16 of an inch, I think. Just one layer, put my note in my note with my handwritten message to my buyer, wrap one time in bubble wrap, and I put it in a box diagonally, I think a 12-inch box, and it fits. I can close the box, and every one of them made it to the destination with no problem. The longer ones, you'll find a bigger box. You're going to find these not in boxes. You'll just find the box didn't make it. Some of these are pretty old, like antique, like 100 years old or more, and the boxes just didn't make it out of wherever. The condition of everything, condition's everything, but I am finding certain things about the condition of these rolls. For instance, each roll has what I call a leader section. I'm sure it's called that. A leader on a cassette tape for you old people. Of course, I'm too young to remember cassette tapes. But for all of you old people out there, the cassette tapes have an area that you can't record on at the beginning of each side. And that's called the leader. And player piano rolls have what I call a leader. There's no doubt that's probably what they're called, because that's what it is. And the leader usually has a little tiny metal ring about a half-inch in diameter, and you attach that to something on a player piano. I've never seen a player piano up close, but they need that little ring to get that thing threaded. Let me find this video. I think it's going to show this owner threading the player piano roll, but if not, no. But this is the leader portion. I was hoping we would see the ring. Now I want to point out that tear right there. I'm finding a lot of edge tears on the leader, and people don't seem to mind. Then it starts playing. I'm going to back up a little bit. So these tears, I was really hoping, so there's some tears down there. Generally, I'm finding there are tears on the leader, but not tears on the actual player piano roll. I think it's because the leader is always, you pull it out and try to thread the beginning of it and thread it into the piano, and it's always open to manual activity, and it gets torn, it gets damaged. But as long as the music portion, as long as those holes don't have a lot of tears on the edges, and generally they won't because they're buried deep inside that roll. Only these leaders seem to have all the problems. Buyers don't seem to care too much. I also have sold piano rolls that have pretty long tears right here that someone over the years have taped it. And the tape is all yellowed and not all that great, but I think as long as you can pull that leader out of there and connect it to connect the little ring at the end, which I wish I could show you. That buyers, no, I can't. This doesn't have a ring. This one's messed up. But that leader can be fairly torn up, especially if it's taped and looks like it's at least something to grab onto by the piano. As long as the rest of it looks pretty good, buyers don't seem to really want to pay down all that much for that. Now, let's talk about buyers paying down. If you really want to sell all your player piano rolls and you really got a good deal, you'll sell them for $5 to $8 a roll. That's too cheap for me. I just not ready to do that. I realize I'm going to be left with 25 that just won't sell, and I'll have to price them down quite a bit. But as long as it's got a box, especially, I start at about $19 or $20 a roll. For the 65 note rolls, I started about $26 or $27. You should too. Even if it doesn't have the box, maybe deduct a couple of dollars for not having a box, but that's about it. I think they still want the roll. Now, if it doesn't have a box, the box always has a label, unless it's, a torn up box, has a label on the end telling you what the song is and when it was copyrighted and all of that. If you don't have a box, or if that old label is torn off, then you have to unroll the roll a little bit, and it will either tell you here. I always take a picture of this, by the way. It's going to have the metronome setting and a couple of data points about the roll. Sometimes the song is here, but a lot of times the song is on the very end of the leader. Here's one. Again, this leader's really torn up. You can see this leader has the song. Okay, if I didn't have a box for this one, and I guess I don't, it's the song Old Black Joe. Now, this reminds me also, every one of these has a number on them. This is number 60011, Old Black Joe. This happens to be a QRS model, or company made this, very famous QRS. They make the majority of them, but there will be a model number on every one of them, and every song is different. Make sure that in your title, like if I were selling this, I would say Old Black Joe, player piano roll, Old Black Joe, number 60011, and then box and whatever else. So you want to put that number in the title and also put it in your description as well. Okay, so if the leader's really torn up, if the little metal loop is not there anymore and the leader just doesn't have much there, you're going to have to price them down, but I think they'll still sell. I've sold a couple that I thought wouldn't sell because the leaders were so bad. So they repair them. They have some way, or they just tape on new paper to the beginning of it, make it work. I mean, it's not that hard. It's just paper, taped to paper or glued to paper, however they fix them these days. About price, I learned something a little too late, and that is the ones that you sell first will be the songs that you recognize. If you know much about music, if you weren't born, if you're not as young as me, and you remember a lot of the old songs, and you grew up hearing the oldies back when you were kids, all you old people, I barely remember anything past the year 2000. But if you know a lot of songs and it looks familiar, I mean things like Swanee River, anything like that, John Philip Sousa marches, things that other people know too, and those will be in demand. Christmas songs, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Christian Christmas songs, all of those. They sell faster than the songs that you've never heard of, than the rolls of the song. Now, there might be a song you've never heard of that everyone else knows except you, and so that might sell and you don't have any advance notice, but in general, you'll recognize the songs that are popular, people know. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, I mean, that's been re-recorded 50 times I had just learned this the other day, since it's 1933 first recording. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes was recorded in 1933 for the first time. I didn't know it was that old. I have a music box that plays Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. I had to know the age of the box. I was told it was like in the 1930s, but I didn't think Smoke Gets in Your Eyes was a song that old. And I looked up, when did Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, when was it first recorded? It was 1933. If you see when Smoke Gets in Your Eyes on a player piano roll, someone's going to want that faster than some kind of weird song that just not many people knew. So I would just price them all the same, and I would definitely, though, any songs you recognize, price a little higher. Even things like Happy Birthday, I would price that higher too. Those are going to sell. A family has a player piano and the kid wakes up and drags herself into the family room. They're all waiting there and they start Happy Birthday on the player piano for her. Songs that add $3 or $4 to those. Those are going to sell. You still want to try to move them faster than they're going to move. Okay, you want your money churning always. This is the cool thing about player piano. Remember I said these are the audio CD of yesteryear, right? These can be shipped media mail. That's pretty cool. That's as cheap as you can ship anything, media mail. So you don't have to charge much to ship. And that's where I'm getting to a big selling tip. And that is, I run a special. If you have paid attention to me, then if you have a store, and most of you should. One reason to have a store, the store supplies, but it's really because of the store categories that you can do things with. You can cross-reference your categories. In your description, second, third line, you can have a link to your player piano roll categories that say, if you like this, wait till you see my vast library of player piano rolls, of antique and vintage player piano rolls here. And it will be, a link. You can link to store categories. So you want to link to all the other player piano rolls, create a category for them. But you can also run a sale, and I would run a shipping sale. And this is the way mine works, and it seems to do fairly well. If you buy 3 or more rolls, you get free shipping. That's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal. So they get a shipping break that way. But if they buy 3, I have to foot the shipping. But it's just media rate mail for these lightweight boxes of player piano rolls. These things aren't heavy. I don't know how much they weigh, but probably, I forget. I should know. I've shipped a lot of them already. But I don't think they're quite a pound. I think they're under a pound. So each one ships for a pound or less medium mail. And if you've got 3 in a box, then okay, it's 3 pounds. But it's medium mail. So if you create a discount for that category, it says buy 3 or more and you get free shipping. I find that a lot of people probably that have bought 3 from me and got free shipping, I think probably they would have just bought 2, maybe 1, but I think probably 2. There's always 2 that are recognized, and there's this kind of an off song thing. And I think it's because, hey, we get free shipping, or they make me an offer for something and I'll take it. I want to get rid of these. I want to churn my money. So I think they just think, well, I'll throw in an extra $10 roll, $11 roll, and I don't have to pay shipping on my others. In other words, for them, it's kind of like if I buy 2, I get 1 basically free. And for you, it's like if I sell 2, I get to throw a third one in there free. I mean, it's kind of like that. And it's a good deal. It's a good deal for you, and it's a good deal for them. I think that's all I have. If you have any questions, always just ask. But that's about all I've learned selling player piano rolls. Stop the tape. Stop the player piano roll. I wanted to add something to that video. On your title, go ahead and start the title with the maker of the piano roll, the name of the company, QRS or Master Touch. And also, if there's room in the title, put the person who played the piano roll. When they create these for the first time, they create a master roll. Someone plays the song, and a machine will create the holes in the piano roll. And people have their favorite player piano roll creators, people who played them. And you'll see on the end title of the piano roll and also on the label on the roll, depending on how much is visible, how old it is, how faded it is, how foxed it is, depending on any damage to the labels, you should be able to see either on the roll's leader or on the box itself, most of the time, it will say who played the piano that created that song for the first time. And a lot of player owners, they really like certain artists that created the rolls. Edith Mern, I think there's a Dick Watson, Luscombe, and some others. And people have their favorites. So go ahead and, if you have room in the title, put who played the piano for that recording. And if no room there, go ahead and put it in your description so that buyers looking for that favorite one, they can find who actually played that recorded roll. And they might buy the roll whether they know the song or want the song or not, just because they like the person who created it and played it the first time.